Was Jesus truly raised from the dead? And if it is, what does his resurrection really mean to the believer? Or to the whole human race? The Apostle Paul has something to say about that in our passage today. If you're up for that, then stay tuned. Hello friends and family! Now just in case, this video is part of an Easter series where we're talking about 10 Bible verses to help prepare our hearts for Resurrection Sunday. And we're already halfway through, which is Bible verse number 6. Here's our verse for this episode, 1 Corinthians 15 verses 20 to 21. But in fact, Christ has been raised from the dead, the firstfruits of those who have fallen asleep. For as by a man came death, by a man has come also the resurrection of the dead. 1 Corinthians is one of Paul's letters to the Corinthian church. It was a church in a big city in Greece, which was a busy trade route. It was a leading cultural center and was a city of wealth, luxury, and immorality. So yes, to live like a Corinthian meant to live a life of sexual immorality and drunkenness. So with the reputation that the city of Corinth had, the church that was built there also had a lot of issues, and there was a lot of compromise. The resurrection of Jesus was one of these issues that Paul focused on, and it's gonna help us in our Bible study for today. Let's go straight to 1 Corinthians chapter 15. And it talks all about the resurrection. Paul emphasized that it was a real event, and his evidence was that he gave eyewitnesses. In verses 4 to 8, Paul said that he appeared to Cephas, who is also Simon Peter, then to the 12, then to more than 500 brothers at one time, then to James, then to all the apostles. Then, of course, Jesus appeared to Paul himself on his way to Damascus through a light. So let's go back to our first verse. It says there, but in fact, Christ has been raised from the dead. In this study, I'll be giving 3 points. Here's the first one. The resurrection of Christ is a fact. Paul is saying it is true. Our faith is not in vain. It's worth the Christian life we are living. A book that I've read is The Case for Easter by Lee Strobel, and he's a former atheist and journalist who made the investigations for himself on the resurrection of Christ. His intention on this investigation was to disprove the resurrection because his wife became a Christian, and he wanted to get his wife back. But in the end, it was the other way around. The overwhelming evidence proves that the resurrection of Jesus is true. I highly suggest that you read it. But yes, Christ indeed has been raised from the dead. Facts. The next point is our resurrection is ensured. The next part of the verse says, the firstfruits of those who have fallen asleep. What stood out to me was the word firstfruits. I read the commentary by Pastor David Guzik on this, and the way he explains it is that in secular usage, the Greek word was used for an entrance fee. It's like an entrance fee to our own resurrection. John Trapp also said this, as in the firstfruits offered to God, the Jews were assured of God's blessing on the whole harvest. So by the resurrection of Christ, our resurrection is ensured. Also, his resurrection undid death. Let's look at the passage. For as by a man came death, by a man has come also the resurrection of the dead. A man here is the first man, Adam. You may have heard the story, but it is through Adam's sin that death came into the world. But Jesus came, and he's referred to as the second Adam. He made a way so that the human race who submit under his authority will be resurrected and live eternally with God. Charles Spurgeon said this, Christ is the first who returned from the jaws of death to tell of immortality and light. So how does knowing this affect our faith? One is, live it. Because we know that the resurrection of Christ is true, and so is ours, whatever we learn in this life, we'll keep it through eternity. Next is keep growing in it. We grow in our faith by reading God's Word, being with other believers, getting discipled. These are very important steps for our growth. Also, share your faith. Let's bring others to the light so they could experience the resurrection themselves. I hope this video blessed you. If it did, like and share your thoughts in the comments. I'll be putting some of the links to the resources that I mentioned in the description below. And if you buy anything using that link, it'll help support the channel. And speaking of that, I also put ways to support this channel in the description as well. Now, just in case you want to catch up on the other videos related to the Easter series, you can check them out right over here in this playlist. Or you might like this video over here. I love you all, and just remember, our hope and future is in Jesus. See you in the next video.